epic and awesome video game vehicles. I mean, there's tons of them all throughout, like, all of gaming history. From, like, way back on the 8-bit Nintendo, all the way up to now on 360 and PS3 and on the Wii. But the thing is, how many of them are truly, truly awesome? Now, the thing is that there's a lot that I think about. I'm like, man, that one was so badass. And I'm not talking about just ones that, you're inside of a car or something, just driving in a racing game. No, fuck all that. I'm talking about, like, the most awesome vehicles, whether they're flying, whether they're transforming, whether they have 4 wheels, 3 wheels, 65 wheels, whatever the case may be. If they shoot shit or if they're just there to be able to go from start to finish, doesn't really matter. Awesome vehicles? Yeah, there's plenty of them. So I'm going to go over some of the most awesome vehicles that come to mind whenever I think about video games right now. First up is Earthworm Jim's Pocket Rocket. Now, besides the sexual innuendo in the title, it's just a really awesome thing in general for a platforming game to have. He had little racing sequences, and fact is that every single Earthworm really does need a rocket to be able to get around in space. So Earthworm Jim definitely is no exception to that. Next we have Cloud Strife's Hardy Daytona, the motorcycle from FF7. Now you have to realize that I'm a hardcore Final Fantasy VII fan through and through. Whether you love the game or hate the game, you've probably seen Cloud on this bike. Now granted, they have a more upgraded version in Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, but that's not a game, so I'm just going to include the one that's inside the game, where you get to see it in the cutscene, and you also get to control it at one point in the game. And also, if you go to the Golden Saucer, get to drive around there. And fact is that it is fucking awesome. Next up, the vertical tank from Steel Battalion. Now, Steel Battalion is one of the most out-of-hand awesome games on Xbox. If you've never seen it, it has a great big-ass controller where you're basically inside of a mech and every single button does something and the levers, everything does something. It's so cool because it's literally like being dropped into the cockpit of a mech and living out all of your fantasies, just destroying shit, shooting missiles, and fighting other mechs, because what else are you going to do in a mech? But yeah, the vertical tanks, they were fucking cool. Now, when you're mentioning vehicles, there's one vehicle you definitely can't leave off of the list because, quite frankly, it's one of the most popular and one that we've all used at one point in time, and that is the Warthog in Halo. Master Chief has tossed his silly ass into that car and shot up many a motherfucker in it, whether he was driving it or he was actually up on the turret mowing down every single alien that came over and tried fucking with him. Didn't matter. It's an awesome-ass vehicle, and in multiplayer, yeah, it's a force to be fucking reckoned with. The Vic Viper from Gradius. Now, in every Gradius game, you control the Vic Viper. You get all of your little upgrades and everything, and it's a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up. Now, if you've ever played any whatsoever, whether it was like R-Type or Gradius or Karga or Radiant Silvergun, it doesn't really matter. Pretty much the same mentality, but the thing is the Vic Viper has been in every single Gradius game. So that's why I think of it as one of the most awesome. If you've ever gotten your hands on it and just started mowing down enemies, you know that ship is definitely awesome as hell. Mass Effect's very own SS Normandie. Now, the entire game, you're always flying around from planet to planet to planet, and then you hop off your ship, you go and you shoot down a bunch of people, and the story will progress. But no matter what, you're always on the Normandie. Normandie in Mass Effect 2 got a major upgrade and overhaul and looked a hell of a lot better. But the thing is, no matter what, the Normandie is one of the coolest spaceships ever in video games. The Warhawk in Warhawk. What else? It's called Warhawk. Now, on PS1, this was actually one of the launch titles that came out for PS1 and was one of the reasons why people thought it was so cool. See, I first got to experience it on a PlayStation demo, but when I actually got a hold of a copy of the game, I realized it's really cool. I mean, granted, yeah, it's a dated game, by today's standards, but it's really cool just flying around your little ship. You're just shooting the living hell out of everything, and that's one of the reasons why I want to mention it, is because I had fond memories of it, and I didn't really get to play too many games that were like that. 360 degrees, I can fly around stuff and get the shit shot out of me or shoot the shit out of things. Lots of shit shooting going on, isn't there? But anyway, Warhawk, super cool. The Crime Killer Police Car. And you might be wondering, what the hell is the Crime Killer police car? Well, there's a game. It's called Crime Killer, and in it, you get to drive a police car. You also get 2 other vehicles that you get to drive, but the thing is, I always think about the police car because, number one, it's the one on the cover, and it's the one that you get to use the most often. But it's seriously the scariest thing ever. Like, just imagine you're watching an episode of Cops, and instead of them just hopping out of their car and chasing down the bad guys and then beating them with batons and shit and macing them and tasing them, instead they just have a car that shoots the living fuck out of their vehicle and blows them up. Nobody would ever want to commit crimes, and that's why I think this fucking car is so awesome. I mean, granted, there's Outlaw from Twisted Metal, but I mean, this is different. You're supposed to be a good guy. You're not like thrown into a thing where you have to kill everybody. You're just a really angry police officer, and you have lots of guns and missiles and all types of other shit. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. Final Fantasy VIII's Balam Garden. Now, you might be wondering, how the hell is an entire building, a school no less, going to be considered a vehicle? Well, if you go a little further into the story, you know, like, I don't know, when everybody's trying to attack you and Sid activates the school, yeah, it rises up out of the fucking ground and starts flying around. That's insane. Okay, fact is that that's cool in itself, is that that's your school and it can fucking fight. I mean, the only thing that would have made it more awesome is if it was like a fucking Power Rangers Transformer and it combined with the other schools and everything and went around and just like punched fucking planets in the face. That'd be kick-ass, but that didn't happen. Though if they ever do make a sequel, I would love to see that wholeheartedly. Then you can like level it up and... Okay, well, I'm just going too far into detail of awesome things that could happen and probably won't because Square Enix is retarded. Anyway, but the Balam Garden, yeah, that's definitely one of the neatest, coolest vehicles ever. Anytime that I'm thinking about vehicles or racing games in general, F-Zero is always one of the first games that comes to mind because not only is it one of my favorite racing games of all time, it also has one of the coolest racing characters ever to exist in video games or movies or anything in general. And that's Captain fucking Falcon. Now, he has the Falcon Kick and the Falcon Punch, which are 2 of the coolest moves in any fighting game ever to exist. But he also has the Falcon Flyer, which is one of the most badass cars in general. Now, if you've ever seen the anime or you played the games, then you've seen Captain Falcon, and his car, yeah, is one of the coolest ever. And, you know, who else are you really going to beat? There's nobody else in F-Zero that's as awesome as him, so you have to jump in the cockpit and go for gold! Yeah, that was cheesy. I don't care. I want to be cheesy. The Druid Plow from Brutal Legend. Now, if you ever got to play Brutal Legend, you realize that anytime that you're trying to get from point A to point B, you are driving around in your Druid Plow, which is the most awesome hot rod car to exist. Because you get to upgrade it all the time, and you get to put more weapons on it, and guess who helps you upgrade your car? Fucking Ozzy Osbourne. Woo! Aussies, man. Seriously. But anyway, the Druid Plow is cool because you mow down every single enemy that you see. They just end up becoming like big blood splatters on the ground. You get to do all these awesome jumps, and quite frankly, it's the most epic car ever to exist in any kind of game because it's a heavy metal car. I don't care. I love it to death. But seriously, it is a really cool-ass car, and if you haven't played Brutal Legend, you should get on that. Go on, shoot. Play Brutal Legend. It's awesome. Rush the Dog from Mega Man. Now, Mega Man, I mean, he's a robot. You know, he runs around everywhere. He's got his Mega Buster. He's shooting the living crap out of things. But sometimes, there's certain areas he's just not going to get past, quite frankly. There is not going to be a little Mega Man jump where he just jumps right over that little pit. No. He has to call upon his friend, Rush. Rush is an awesome dog because he turns into the little Rush jet. So you jump on Rush's back and you just ride right along. Frankly, he's important as hell. I played all the Mega Man games, and you always need Rush, because, well, he's there for a reason. Do you really want to fall into that endless pit, or do you want to fall into those big drill spikes that are going to apparently give you, like, the worst fucking lobotomy or, like, anal probing that you've ever seen exist? Especially to a poor robot. That'd just be awful. Awful. But anyway, Rush the Dog, yeah. Awesome little vehicle. That he is. Now, last but not least, Sweet Tooth. Sweet Tooth has an ice cream truck, but not just any ice cream truck. It's an ice cream truck that commits acts of homicide and murder, vehicular manslaughter, and all types of other things, and all it really does is make us happy, because we get to load it up with missiles and landmines and napalm and machine gun bullets and all types of other stuff. But there's one other thing. It also gets to transform and shoot a shit ton of missiles at anybody that's even going to decide that they're going to just drive right in front of him or take them head on. And if they do, well, they're pretty much fucked. Their life bar's going to go gone. Just dead. Splat. Anyway, now Sweet Tooth, yeah. You have the best vehicle, like, ever to exist in all of Twisted Metal. Except for Minion. Minion has a pretty cool car, too. But anyway, Sweet Tooth's car, yeah. The Ice Cream Truck from Hell, one of the best vehicles I've ever used. So those are some of the vehicles that I think about whenever I think of like real kick-ass vehicles in all of video games. Granted, there's a whole ton more, like the cars from Mario Kart, or like some of the cars from Ridge Racer, like when you get to control Pac-Man, and stuff like that. But the thing is, there's too many for me to be able to list. I just want to name off those ones just as examples of real kick-ass ones I thought about whenever I was making up this list. So the thing that I really want to know is, what vehicles do you guys think about that are like the most kick-ass, or you have like the best memories of? Some of the best vehicles that people don't ever get to use, or like, you know, those hidden gem cars that people never really got their hands on because you had to like complete every track and under like some ridiculous amount of time that nobody's really going to want to do, but you actually had the balls to do, and then you got to drive it around with a big old shit-eating grin. But the fact is that you guys should comment down below. Say whatever cars you think are awesome, or maybe I named the ones that you were thinking about in my list. And if you really want to, make a video response talking about it. Either way, everybody wants to know what cars are awesome because video game vehicles, yeah, they're the fucking shit.